Okay, so I'm making my first mobile game, and now I'm reaching a point where I need to decide where to place the ads. Okay, so ads are not really a requirement for mobile apps, right? It just makes it seem that way with so many ads littering basically every app on the app stores. But still, obviously, it's a very good thing to do if you want to monetize your game or app. Today I'll be exploring a few type of ad implementation in video games for mobile, and I can talk about my solution for my game, and maybe you can make your decision based off of that. We're gonna go with the most acceptable type of ad, with the worst type of ad. So anyway, let's start with... I think Duolingo is the best example for a game-like experience that does ads the correct way. You're only shown ads right after you end a lesson. You're not interrupted in the middle of your lesson, and the player expects an ad right after the lesson ends. Expecting an ad is like the most important metric to whether or not an advertising is annoying. Back when people used to see television, way before all those subscriptions, people expected an advertisement every once in a while, and even TV shows made like a clean cut so that the audience member can expect an ad. That obviously changed with the subscription and stuff, even though Netflix is bringing them back even though you pay. But normally my point is that expecting an ad is basically what makes an ad annoying or not, and Duolingo does this very well. I have a lot of problems with other stuff Duolingo does, but I think sticking an ad right after a lesson ends is a good way to monetize an app. This same sort of idea can apply to other types of game. For example, you can do it between levels, between episodes, or whatever. And just like Duolingo, a user, if they really want to support it, they can just pay an extra amount of money just to never see ads ever again. A way to make this a bit more annoying is to just surprise the user with an ad before they start an action. These ones are a bit weird, and even though they're technically in between actions so that they don't interrupt the player, they're still pretty annoying because the player doesn't really expect them. For example, if you tap on unlocking something and it didn't warn you you were getting an ad before that, that's pretty annoying and the player kind of feels cheated. I think another type of intermediate annoying type of ad are banners. I think banners are not popular anymore, but they were all over the place a few years ago. It's a good thing people finally realized it just looked ugly. I don't even think it paid that well, so you were just basically putting an ugly banner on your app and ruining the whole experience. I think some apps still do it, and I think they're more common in Android apps. Now that we're talking about types of ads like in a more technical way, the ads I was talking about mainly were called interstitial, which are basically full screen ads that gets autoplayed. That's basically it. Like if you see in an ad that covers the whole screen with maybe the fake X on the top right corner, was probably an interstitial ad. This is different from a rewarded ad that is basically the same as an interstitial, but the player decides to watch it. And I'm gonna talk about the rewarded type of ads at the end of the video when I'm talking about my implementation for my game. The worst type of ad you can make is the type of ad that interrupts the whole action of the game. It can be between a level, between something that's important. It just interrupts the whole gaming experience with no warning whatsoever. I first came into contact with this type of ad when I saw this game on an ad, ironically, that I really liked. It was about some bouncing balls. I really can't find it again, and I really liked it, to be honest. And that's one of the only times I really paid attention to an ad. But when I played it, it was littered with ads. You really couldn't advance in the game without an ad popping out in the middle of the game. The game idea was very simple. It was basically just creating a course for balls to bounce around, but it was really good, and that was so disappointing. I even want to maybe copy that game idea and just put it out there without ads, because it was really good in my opinion, but it really wasn't worth an ad every 30 seconds. So basically we have this whole range of different types of ads you can place on your game, from the least annoying to the most annoying. So what can I choose for my game so the player doesn't get annoyed by a lot of ads, but can still support the game if they want to? And to be honest, I kinda got inspired by that kinda unlikely voice.
You heard this guy worked at Blizzard? Oh man, did you read that in a Reddit thread? Tell me about it in the unbanned request, chat hopper. You're overreacting? No, I'm not. I worked at Blizzard for 7 years.
Okay, I know he's a controversial figure now, but back then when YouTube for some reason liked to recommend his shorts all of the time, he said something that I really didn't even know was an option.
The only time that I like ads on mobile is when they do this. A little fairy or something shows up and it flies across the screen, and if you click on it, it says, "Would you like to watch an ad? I'll give you 500 gold." And I go, you know what? No. And it goes, cool. I'll be back later. I go, neat. Or I say, you know what? Yes, I do. And I get the ad, and I get the gold.
Offering the player to watch an ad or not was something that was not really on my mind before, and that sounds crazy now that I say it. Every single experience I've had on an app has shown me promotional material one way or another. And back when I was a child, I thought it was kind of a requirement to have a lot of ads on your apps, but that really is not the case. The reason people do this, of course, is because they want to get money, right? In a business sort of mindset, they not only have to make their money back, which is not a lot, like this is the amount of money you can spend on a medium cheap hobby, right? But as a business, they have to make money, of course. But at least for my uses, I really don't need to fill up my game with a lot of ads if I think they're gonna destroy the whole gameplay. And even though this is a game that I don't consider my best work, I don't want to associate it in any way with the normal ad experience you get on a phone. And of course, that's only for my uses. If you want to earn a bit more money, if you have a great game and you find a way to implement ads in a similar way, do it, right? So this is the way I implemented it. In my game, Mobukit, you can play a series of minigames. When you lose a minigame, you earn a certain amount of money, while coins you can earn in-game to buy stuff like clothes or whatever. But I give you the option to watch an ad to multiply your earnings by 2. Another option you have is by just watching an ad in the main menu, basically. And you can watch an ad every 5 minutes or so. This is so you can earn coins just by watching the ads. So that's your way of supporting the game. This is a very common tactic in some games, and I thought they only let you do it every like 5 or 10 minutes because Google AdSense was gonna ban you or something for permitting the player to see a bunch of ads, but apparently there is not a limit. So I don't know if there's out there a game that lets the player watch a ton of ads indefinitely. If you know any game like that, let me know. But anyway, I'm making my game in Godot, and all of this was pretty easy with the AdMob plugin for Godot. The documentation is pretty good. It works for any of the 3 type of ads I talked about, and it worked for Android and iOS. Just be careful with changing the test string for AdMob so you don't put the production key wrong or whatever, because Google can ban you for accidentally using your production key for testing, at least according to the documentation. Just read it very carefully, okay? You can play the whole game without even having to see a single ad, but it gives the opportunity for people to earn a bit more coin in the game while supporting the game. I don't want to sound like this is the wisest way of making ads or the most ethical way of making ads. This is just the way I decided to do it. Again, if you do it any other way, it's fine. Just take into consideration the player, if you really care about the player experience, and not just make a cash grab. I think sadly, mobile games have become like a get-rich-quick scheme for some people, and that kind of sucks because a touch screen that can become really any controller is such a good idea for a game platform, and it's such a sad thing that it has become synonymous with scammy apps and bad games for little kids. I don't know, I hope this video served at least as some inspiration if you want to monetize your game in a quick way, like where to put ads or whatever. So you know some of the pros and cons and some of the things I've been thinking about, right? About monetizing a video game for mobile. The game I'm talking about is not really out yet, by the way, because I have some trouble with the Android Play Store, but subscribe and stay in the loop if you want to see more videos about game development in this way. This video is more of a ranty video, rambling video than some of my other videos. But yeah, I hope you got inspired in some way, and I hope to see you soon. Bye.